morning, everybody. Welcome to the Mrs. Best Reviews channel. I am Mrs. Best. We are here to do our weekly recap of 90 Day The Single Life. This is a spinoff of 90 Day Fiancé for those who may not be familiar with the show. I also want to take a moment and say thank you and welcome in to all of our existing and new subscribers. I do appreciate y'all for supporting the channel, watching these reviews. It really does matter. Big welcome to all of our new subscribers in Thug Life. Welcome to the channel. Feel free to always give suggestions on shows you want to see covered, different forms of content and whatnot that you'd like to see me cover, and all of those things. And a big thank you to all who support us, whether you subscribe or not, because you definitely do matter. I also like to encourage people to see other great content creators that are in the description of this video. A lot of them are African-American creators. As somebody Black, I'm gonna always uplift people Black, but we're gonna uplift everybody else too as well. But y'all, let's get into this episode of 90 Day The Single Life. There was definitely a lot that happened. Definitely a lot of that happened, but not a lot at the same time. The episode was titled The Art of Orbiting. They obviously have a theme that they are going with in terms of how they're naming the episode and whatnot. But we're going to start this week with Courtney and Colt. Now, I did see from the snippet last week before we got this episode, and then I also kind of saw online that Courtney is dating an older man. I'm not mad at it. The way my brain works, I was like, okay, homegirl's dating an older man because these men her age and younger men do not act appropriately. I am 33. I'll be 34 in about 2 weeks, but I have a lot of friends who are my age or older, and a lot of them have gone through bad experiences with men their age or men that are younger, and so they date up. They date up. I don't see the issue in it all the time, but Courtney's 32 and homeboy is 66. We first see Colt in the house. Colt is happy that he can finally walk. I said, oh, look, Colt, you don't need that wheelchair no more. Get your ass somewhere else and go live for yourself. Because the moment you don't need a wheelchair is the moment that you're really back to being self-sufficient. Now, I'm not saying Colt can write or can run a mile or anything or sprint a 5K, but he can definitely live well enough on his own so that he doesn't have to rely on other people. But instead, he's living with Courtney and her new man, which is crazy because he was coming back to Orlando for a doctor. And this required him to be with Courtney. I feel like Colt purposefully had and chose doctors in Orlando because let's keep it real. Who's hearing about renowned doctors from there? I'm sure there are some, but not in this situation. I feel like Colt just manipulated Courtney into being back in his life. Like, he's like, okay, she don't want me now. So I feel like Colt is thinking about playing the long and slow game as it relates to winning her back, because this is a person who doesn't learn from their actions, as we've seen him on multiple seasons and spinoffs on 90 Day. He does the same stuff over and over again and then makes this distinguished face. Oh, I'm not quite sure why Courtney, or I'm not quite sure why this chick. It's like, shut up, Colt. You're terrible. But he's living with Courtney and Phil. Phil is the new boyfriend. And it looks like they get along, but I thought it was a little odd because Phil is so kind. He's like, oh, I can take this dish. I'll wash it for you. And, you know, all of these things. But Phil lets Colt know, like, okay, me and Courtney are going to be going to play pickleball later. So you're going to be alone in the house. And we do later get to see Courtney and Phil playing pickleball without Colt. Now, this was an extremely strange dynamic, but it seemed to work. Courtney's a pretty girl. She does have a little bit of an old lady face, but she is a pretty girl. She seems sweet. Body looks good. It's just weird to see her cupcaking and with this older man. But the way her personality is, I do kind of feel like she would do better with a guy that's older than her. Maybe not the 65-year age difference that there is. Or not 65, I'm sorry, 35-year age difference that there is 30-something odd years between Courtney and this new guy. Maybe she should date someone 10 to 15 years older or even 20 years older. I just feel like 30 plus years older is too old. That's just my opinion. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments. It's totally fine to disagree with me. And I know a lot of people have different perspectives on age as it relates to dating. Like, how old is too old if you're dating up, and how young is too young if we're dating down? You know, speaking of age and dating, y'all, check out my Age of Attraction review. Age of Attraction was a dating experiment and reality show that was on Netflix, where a bunch of people were dating, but they did not disclose their ages. There was some crazy age gaps on there. There was a 60-year-old with a 29-year-old there, you know, so I don't know. Everybody views dating and age differently, but Kourtney does seem happier. They play pickleball, and Phil is pretty much at a point where he tells Kourtney, he's like, I feel like Colt is in the way of our relationship. We cannot progress. We cannot move forward. We can't be comfortable. Phil is like, we can't even use our living room because Colt's bedroom is right there. And I'm like, you can. If Colt was any other person, you could use your living room. But because it is an ex, there's some discomfort. I see a lot going on with Kourtney and Phil. Now, Colt has the opinion that Kourtney is using Phil as a sugar daddy. But Colt, you were just in her parents' house. Why does she need to use Phil as a sugar daddy when she could get her own room, not have to pay rent, and do the things that she wants at her parents' house? I don't think she's using this man for a sugar daddy. I truly believe Kourtney has been wronged so many times by men. She's not interested in women, so she's going to try dating a little differently. It's unfortunate, and shame on men like Colt for causing her pain that pushed her into the arms of someone much older who she ordinarily would not date, while also saying she's got a sugar daddy. Like, fool, you pushed her to that. But they're going to have a talk with Colt to tell him pretty much that he has to leave. It looks like we'll see more of that in the next episode. But let me know how y'all feel about Kourtney and her new man, because it was just a lot. It was genuinely a lot to see. We are going to move it in to Kim and Jamal. Kim and Jamal are in the UK right now visiting Kim's new romantic friend that she's interested in dating named Wayne. Things with her and Wayne have gone well. He took her on the train date. I see you, Kim. I saw that Kim posted a picture of Wayne saying it was the best first date ever. I know I read too much into things. I'm like, is it the best first date ever because it truly was? Or is it the best first date ever because y'all never had a good date after that? Like, I'll try to figure it out, Kim. But I am rooting for Kim. I feel like Kim is actually one of the few people I've watched on many seasons of 90 Day, The Single Life, where she's actually being authentic. She's being honest. And it seems like she's trying to not make the same mistake she made when she was with Usman. That was a time. My God, that was a time. Great season of 90 Day, but my God, that was a time. Now, they're going on a second date. She's bringing Jamal with her, which I thought was a little odd, but I also feel like that's a respectful thing to do. No man wants to see his mom dating dudes younger than him. Was it Usman, that one that was a corny rapper too? I can't remember. I believe he was the weak rapper. But I don't see an issue with Kim bringing Jamal. Lisa and Faith from Before the 90 Days, take note. This is what you do when you're actually trying to rectify a situation and make better decisions. But they go on a blacksmith date, which is apparently common in England. That is something that surprised me. And things are okay. Jamal's happy his mom's dating someone her age, but they're going to be going out to eat or going to an event later in the evening. So they do separate from Wayne after the blacksmith date. Now, in the car on the way to see Wayne later, Jamal and Kim are talking, and she's talking to Jamal, and she's like, I'm wondering when I should tell Wayne about the fact that Kim has 2 other children that she gave up for adoption, and that she's on the journey to try and find one of them. And Jamal is kind of like, you should tell him. Like, the fact that you haven't told him is insane, which I personally do agree with Jamal. I do agree with Jamal. I understand Kim's perspective, but it's very dangerous to keep secrets when dating. If it's a secret that you're keeping because you're scared that it may make this man not want to deal with you, then you need to tell him as soon as possible, because you're wasting your own time, Kim, and you're wasting his time. Now, if he has no issue with it, who cares, big whoop. But Kim is concerned that he may have an issue with it because he's very close to his family. And Jamal makes the mistake of telling his mom, well, regardless of what, I'm letting dude know. He said, I'm going to tell the truth. If I'm asked, I'm going to speak on it and tell the truth. I respect that, because a piece of it is like, okay, Jamal, these are your siblings by blood, so it is partially your truth, but you're also kind of railroading your mama. let her say stuff in her own time. You have to allow adults to make their own mistakes. This is not a child or a teenager or somebody you have power over and can just be like, okay, well, you're not going to do this because I don't want you to do it. With adults, some adults, you can tell them and give them the best advice, but they're going to do what they do in the end. So just, speak your mind, but let your mama do her. Don't make it worse. But nothing really else happens with them. They meet up with Wayne. He demonstrates an importance that he has about family because he has children of his own. This is making Kim feel nervous to tell him. We'll see next week if she does. I mean, they are dragging this storyline on. This is one of the, no shade, y'all. I love recapping shows because it's fun to get the thoughts out that I have when watching TV. And then I go on the internet, and when you guys leave a comment or when I do a live stream, I'm like, okay, I was off, or okay, I was right. It's nice to get to see how other people feel about a show that you enjoy. But this is one of the weakest seasons of The Single Life that I have ever watched. Huge 90 Day Fiancé fan. Even before covering the 90 Day Fiancé franchise on my channel, I've been watching for years and years. This is one of the worst seasons of The Single Life. I'm bored. I'm genuinely bored. And I feel like this is slightly worse than that season we had Chantel and Natalie, Veronica, Jamal. Like, I didn't care for that season because of the cast, but I was still somewhat entertained. This is one of the worst seasons. There's nobody on here really dating and demonstrating the single life the way I would like it to be shown, except for Kim. Vanya's a mess. I don't take her relationship seriously. I don't know what the hell Courtney's doing. I don't know why Colt is back. Gino, in my opinion, is a lost cause. I wish Gino well, but I think he's a lost cause with relationships. Like, half of these people, I just don't care to see, or they could have put on Hunt for Love or like another 90 Day spinoff. But that's just my opinion. Let me know how you feel, because you guys may be loving this season. It could just be Mrs. Best. I could be just set tripping, as they used to say. I really could. But things went well with Kim and Jamal. We're now going to get into Vanya, who is now in a relationship and not single, which is why I'm like, why is this girl in single life? But I digress. With Tony, her friend Tony, that I will remind everybody every week, who was her friend, who she thought it was more and wanted to be in a relationship with, who found every excuse on the planet to not be in a relationship with her, and was also living with an ex and kept the relationship a secret from her. She begged that man to be with her. Now she got him. Last week they had a problem. The week before that they was good. The week before that they had a problem. Vanya and Tony play ping pong back and forth with having problems and arguing. And I'm sick of them. I'm sick of them both. I feel like they're both immature as it relates to dating. And they're both in their own way as it relates to dating. But based on Vanya's people coming on my channel and getting mad and my opinion of her, I think that's why she's struggling. If you have too many yes men around you who don't tell you the truth about the bad decisions you're making, you're going to continue making bad decisions without a thought. And I kind of see that with Vanya. She seems extremely sweet. She's beautiful. There should be no reason this lady is single. But I do think she's partially in her own way. She's back from Ibiza. She was in Ibiza with her cousin Sanella for 3 weeks, having the trip of her life, as she should. And Tony picks her up from the airport, freshly arched eyebrows. He even had the lady put the little line through the eyebrows. And I'm surprised, because last week when we saw them, he was ruining her trip. Now 3 weeks have gone by. She's back. And apparently everything is great between the two of them. She says that Tony called her after that blow up we saw on last week's episode and apologized. And she says that the only reason he freaked out on her, and I'm like, Vanya, you fell for this. But Vanya says the only reason Tony flipped out on her is because he wasn't adjusted to being without her. And he missed her so much. You believe that, Vanya? You really believe that? Don't be fooled by a man that speaks like he's nice. Okay? I don't bitmo believe that Tony flipped out on Vanya because he missed her. That don't make sense. When my husband misses me, when he's gone on vacations without me, or I've traveled without him for work or for girls' trips, he call me and be like, hey, baby girl, I miss you. How you doing? He'll FaceTime me. I just wanted to see your face. That's what people do when they miss somebody. Okay? Not start a fight and pick at you and go off and insinuate and low-key accuse you of cheating when you're not doing that. Now, listen, I feel like Vanya is in her own way in relationships because I feel like she doesn't know how to allow herself to be chased by a man. But I don't feel like Vanya is the type to cheat. So for him to accuse her of that was whack, especially after they had made peace after what she did dancing when they went on that date. After y'all made peace about that, he doesn't get to go backwards. So I thought that was whack, but she believes it. And he's so apologetic and happy to see her. They get to the house and are kissing and loving on each other. And it looked like she finna break her celibacy. This is why I don't like certain people. Like, why y'all play with celibacy? To be celibate means that you are abstaining from sex until you are married. Not till you meet a boy that you can trust. Not till you meet a guy you think you go marry, but until you are married. If you're anything outside of that, you're just abstinent. I think we went over this discussing age of attraction, but that is literally how it works. So I'm looking at Vanya like, okay, you abstinent, but just because he's nice and you've been gone, don't fall for it. Now, after, Tony and her became intimate, we see Vanya and Tony go to his parents' house. His parents were so sweet, by the way, especially his mom. His dad, you could tell, didn't know what was going on. His mom had to tell. The dad said, our son's between 40 and 50 years old. We want to see him in love. You don't know how old your son is, sir? Like, you don't know the answer to this. But the mother did correct them about Tony being 45. And we learned that Tony's parents are extremely religious. This is a concern for Vanya. She is a war refugee and or survivor, however you guys want to call it. It looks like she was a part of Yugoslavian culture. There was a war going on. The premise of the war was because of religion. Vanya watched a lot of people die. Nations become separated. She said her country turned into 6 different countries. People who used to be in a community together then became enemies. And she feels like religion is to blame for that. And she is correct. It's not just a feeling. That is literally the reason of that war. I remember learning about that in school, but not to the extent that she explained it. Obviously, each country gonna teach you their culture, but hell, American history, they don't even like to acknowledge slavery. So we can't expect them to tell us everything. Okay. But I digress. But Vanya went through a lot. I respect her and commend her and appreciate her for being vulnerable and telling her story. It's unfortunate. And this is why so many people, without getting political, are against what the current administration in our country is doing right now. It's not always about money and the reason for war and standing your ground. When you look at stories like Vanya, you're reminded of how war impacts everyday people who have nothing to do with government and are just here trying to leave. It's impacted this woman all the way into her adulthood. She's 42 years old, 43, I believe. I could be getting her age wrong. And she's still impacted by war and what she had to see as a child. So, I hope people think of that. And I really appreciate Vanya and TLC for sharing that. But that's all that happened with her this episode. So far, things are going okay with the parents. But I guess it's one of those things where we'll get to see more, as we watch. So I'm not going to be too hard on Vanya for that because she pulled at my little heartstrings. Y'all know Miss Best sensitive. Y'all know I'm sensitive as hell. We're going to get into the last person we're going to discuss of this episode, and that's Pedro. Pedro sitting on the beach with his homeboy Via, and they sad as hell because Pedro had Sophie and Via had Liz. And Sophie and Liz made up, and then they both broke up with their men because Via learned that, Liz got another man back home, and Pedro learned that Sophie is a tease that was bullshitting. So, they going through it. They sat on the beach. I'm down in the dumps. But later in the episode, we do get to see Sophie and Pedro meet up. He teaches her how to open a coconut so that, she could get that coconut water out of it. And they talk. Pedro's like, even with her talking to somebody else, he was still willing to give her an opportunity. But Sophie told Pedro she kissed another Dominican boy that looked just like Pedro, just with a meaner face. And Pedro got mad and walked off. I'm not mad at Pedro. Now, if y'all go watch my recaps for when I used to cover the Family Chantel on this channel, in my 90-day franchise and spinoffs playlist on the channel, y'all will see I was a little annoyed with Pedro and how he handled his divorce. I know that to have a relationship, it takes 2. To end a relationship, it takes 2. Okay? So I do not fault only Pedro for the problem of the divorce. I honestly fault Chantel's family and Pedro's family, but more so Pedro's family was the main reason for that. But in this situation, I'm on Pedro's side. I feel like Sophie is a tease and plays a game. She's one of those girls that's plastic and shallow. You could tell that she got her body done and has changed some stuff. And now she wants to dictate what she does with men. If you want to be single and promiscuous, baby girl, go do it. But the way that you're doing it is sloppy, it's messy, and you don't have no game, Sophie. Okay? I'm a Gemini. We're natural born man eaters. Stop playing with me. Like, she don't have game the way she thinks she does. Because if she does, she would have sense. She wouldn't have told Pedro about kissing the neck. She just would have went and been cool with him. Like, Sophie moves like a bird. And I think Pedro is figuring that out. And so he walked away from her, and I'm glad. I'm not mad. Do you, Pedro? Bye, bitch. I mean, what else can you do? But we are nearing the end of the season. There is going to be a tell-all. I am crossing my fingers and toes, y'all, that maybe the tell-all will be much better than this weak-ass season. I have been so bored. I will be having a live, though, because that's it for discussion of this episode. I will be having a live this Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. I will be live, I believe, with Watch Your Mouth Reviews. I'll be making some announcements for my channel. There's going to be a lot of changes that's going to be coming to my channel that are positive, and I'll be announcing some new shows. For those of you who are watching this video, you probably may not participate in my lives, and that's okay. You don't have to. One of the announcements in that video will be that I will be covering 90 Day Fiancé, which is back May 10th, which is this Sunday. We will replace Monday reviews that we did before the 90 days with. We will be covering 90 Day Fiancé with those reviews. And on June 1st, we will be going over 90 Day The Last Resort, which I'm very excited to cover. So I will be covering more shows from the 90 Day franchise. The only ones I know for sure I will not cover is 90 Day Diaries. I don't care for that. But other than that, beautiful people, love and light to everybody. Thank you so much for watching the video and supporting the channel. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments, and I'll see y'all for the next review. Au revoir.